What is up, everybody? Welcome to You Guys Made Me Inc., the #1 Finding Nemo podcast on the internet. I always trip up right there, but this is going to be a fun podcast. I'm Chase. We got Vaughn here today, as always. What are we doing today, Vaughn?
We are going to be giving you guys our Infinity War impressions, and I think this is going to be classified as kind of a hot take, because neither of us were really impressed with it. Little fucking spoilers to our own review. Neither of us were, like, fucking coming in our jeans like everybody from IGN and everybody, like, in the aggregate scores and everything.
Yeah, it seems like everyone was so in love with this movie. It's like... And we're going to start off no spoilers, kind of just give our general impressions, whether you should watch it, whether you should wait for it to be on demand or whatever, But then we'll tell y'all, we will make it very, very clear that we're going to go into spoilers. So,
Be ready for that.
Yeah, be ready for that. Okay, so let's start off.
This got a lot of spoilery shit going on in this movie.
Unspoilers, obviously. What was your general takeaway from this?
I thought it was a good movie. I mean, I didn't think the original Avengers movie was my favorite Marvel movie, and I don't think that this one has, like, even come to the, even close to the pantheon of other Marvel movies that I really enjoy, because they are, like, they're very, I shouldn't say easy stories to tell, they're smaller stories that are being told that I feel like make it easier to flesh out each and every character and what their motivation was. But this one obviously had a massive roster of characters, and it was just really hard to do that for everybody.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest issue with this movie too, is everything felt super rushed,
Yeah, everybody was trying to do their part in a small amount of time, and this is a 2.5 hour long movie. It's not a short movie.
Like, this movie could have easily been 2 movies, but then to make this entire timeline 3 movies, that would just be too much.
Yeah, it would just be outrageous. I'm glad that they didn't, like, fucking Hobbit this bitch and just stretch it out a ridiculous amount. I'm glad that they're only making it 2 parts, and where it ends on is pretty great. I thought the ending was awesome. Overall, I think just people need to see this movie, but I would say kind of like you need to lower your expectations based on reviews. Like, some people might really, really love this movie, and I think that's great. But just as a general rule of thumb, I think people need to go into movies and they need to go into games and everything with lower expectations than what reviews would give them. Because not everybody's going to feel the same way about this. Like, we are the examples of that. We literally got out and we're like, not the best. The 4 people, including us, that went, all 4 of us were like, not the best Marvel movie.
I mean, it wasn't terrible by any means.
Oh, yeah, no.
It was not Thor or Thor 1, or Thor 2, I mean. It wasn't terrible.
Yeah. It's not a bad movie at all. It just didn't live up to the expectations I had.
And I think,
it's just
as I go back to
this, as good as the few I love.
The biggest problem is that it feels so rushed. It feels like they're trying to do so much in one movie, which makes sense. They got to get through. This cannot be a trilogy of Infinity Wars. They got to get through it. But it just felt like, I don't know, attempting to get all 6 stones in one movie just felt like a lot.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like a lot. So, we've already kind of given our like close take on it, that we both enjoy it, think you should see it.
Go see it. It's fun. But
yeah, you should definitely go see it. What do you feel?
Lower your expectations.
As like a non-spoiler look into it, what would you say, unless your opinion is complete spoilers, what would you say your favorite part about this movie was?
I just like Spider-Man.
Can you give one? You just like Spider-Man, his inclusion in the movie?
I just like him in the movie. I think that Spider-Man is such an interesting character, because he actually, and this is not spoiling, this is the same for Homecoming, he feels like a freaking kid, man, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, when we get into spoilers, we'll really talk about it, but there's that one part, you know what part I'm talking about, it's sad, that he's in, and it truly showed like how much of a kid he was, and that was so awesome. I really loved that.
And that's the thing because I love about this Spider-Man.
Portrayed
he's so cool and like young.
Yeah, he's super cool. He knows who he is. I love that he always makes references to movies and says there's old movies, which
old movie.
I feel like that's kind of weird because a person in like Peter's a nerd in the comics and everything, so I would think his character would know about that, but this is a different Peter Parker.
And that's the thing I've heard people talk about, but he does know about it. He's just kind of making sure the adults, because I talk to some adults, you can talk to them about stuff and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So he's kind of just trying to put it out there as simple as possible. You know about this old movie, about this, and it's super easy rather than saying like, you remember Aliens or whatever, you remember Transformers 1.
Yeah,
because to him that's probably old.
That definitely makes sense. I really enjoyed Spider-Man 2. I think he's a great inclusion. I'm so glad that Tom Holland plays Spider-Man. He's such a good actor, and he like really just makes everything hit so well. He's definitely one of my favorite characters. I will say the Guardians are my favorite characters just all together in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But fucking yeah, he's awesome.
Another thing that kind of like felt weird to me was the comedy in it, because there was subtle comedy, but it was not I guess what I'm saying is there wasn't enough time to be funny, because there was subtle funny things here and there, but it wasn't like other Marvel movies where it's like a couple jokes here, a couple jokes there. It's just like one-liners that get glossed over because there's not enough time to have one-liners.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it, I mean, not a lot of it, a decent amount of it felt kind of rushed, like forced comedy, when other parts were like really subtle and really funny. But there was a little bit of it that I really enjoyed, and we'll talk more about it in spoilers. It's really hard to talk about this movie without getting into spoilers, honestly.
It's because the whole movie's spoilers, man.
Yeah, because you want to reference specific things, but you're like, I don't know if that'll be a spoiler for any stupid reason, so I can't do that. But this was actually like the way they treated this movie was just like I feel like most of the other movies, but it was a little bit faster. So they mixed the action, the drama, and everything also with comedy, which I think is funny because, I mean, this did it much better. But a lot of people hated the Last Jedi parts when they had like comedy in it. People really hated that. They're like, it's so fucking stupid. Like Marvel's bringing their Marvel treatment into it, where it's like action and funny. And I'm like, all right, you can not like it and then like it. That's fine. I don't really care. I understand the difference between the two. But yeah, I feel like some of the comedy was a little bit forced in it, but overall most of the jokes really land and they're super funny.
So right now we're gonna go into spoilers because I mean, all we can really say is good movie, not great, but good movie, fun movie, good to go see with friends and stuff. But it wasn't my favorite, so we're just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah,
but Spider-Man was my favorite. So.
Oh, I didn't say my favorite. My favorite part about the entire movie is honestly Thanos. Really great villain.
Yeah, and.
He just made sense. He's not like a piece of shit who just wants to kill people.
Still unspoiler. It was so much. He was so in the amount of time too that they like didn't spend on it. Like how quickly they did it. But he was so grounded and so like just flushed out as a character. Rather than the only thing I can compare it to is Darkseid from Justice League.
Yeah, where he was just like kind of.
Or was that Steppenwolf?
It was Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf, yeah. Steppenwolf from Justice League. He was not flushed out. Didn't really give a shit about him. In this, it's like, okay, Thanos is an interesting character, man. We know about him. We understand what he's talking about. Like, it's really interesting.
Yeah, he has believable motivations. He makes sense. Like, he's a relatable villain.
Are we in spoilers? I forgot.
No, we're not. That's okay, just me saying real quick that I loved Thanos, but we can get into spoilers now. Let's
get into
spoilers. These are spoilers. What's that noise they make?
A couple seconds.
I bet that was amazing.
Yeah, I bet.
In your ears. It's probably fantastic.
Okay, so let's get this show on the road.
All right, so everybody fucking dies. That's the movie. Everybody's
not
dead.
everybody, but most people.
They're all fucking dead.
Pretty
Nobody
much all
lives. That's it. Fucking
okay.
ending ruined.
Now, the first thing I want to piggyback off of was us talking about Thanos. And I posted something on Twitter that it really kind of opened my eyes. What I said is, it's so good when villains in movies have better motives than taking over the world or the galaxy. When they feel like they feel like, you know, they feel like they are truly helping people. And they just believe their own lies to such an extent that it's kind of like the truth. You know?
Yeah, and also, I mean, Thanos actually had the data to back up his thoughts as well. He had done it on planets before, and supposedly they're thriving, which was really interesting. He just wipes out half the population, and supposedly
what we're talking about is he goes to his original planet was a great planet, but there was not enough resources, you know? And so they
essentially overpopulated, and then fucking they killed themselves because they all went hungry and shit like that. They destroyed their own world.
And what Thanos said is he gave like a fix to it. He said we could just take out half the population.
I really did enjoy that he truly feels like, I mean, it sounds weird, but he feels like a good person, in quotes, because even when he explains his thoughts on the original plan and the new plan, it's completely based on like a lottery system, essentially.
It's
that, like, when
chance.
in the scene when he wipes out Gamora's people, he's like, choose a side. They literally just say go right or left, and if you went like fucking left, you died. If you went right, you lived. And it's like, it had zero favor for anybody. He doesn't favor the rich. He doesn't favor the poor. He's just completely neutral. He's just there to fix things, which I understand his thought process on it, and that's something that villains don't usually get. Like, when Ronan the Butcher came up, I'm like, cool, you want to kill fucking all the Xandarians because you feel like they've fucked your culture, essentially. Like, I could understand it in certain ways, but also it just felt kind of weird. It's like, you're evil to be evil. But Thanos, he had an actual reason to be evil. He's like, no, I'm just trying to fix things. In a way, he's just trying to make people happy, which is so weird. He wants to wipe out half the universe to make the other half happy. I'm like, holy shit. That is the weirdest thing to ever think. But honestly, like, I don't know. Apparently it works. He had the fucking data to back it up. And he was just a fantastic villain. And I loved it throughout the entire thing. They're like, oh, you have no heart. You have no anything. And then when he kills Gamora, he cries and he's in anguish and everything. That was fantastic.
And even to that point, man, the Thanos just, and this is himself, he feels like he's helping people. And it's kind of sad, you know, because he wants to help people, but it's like, dude, you're actually just killing people, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
his intentions are good. His execution is not.
Yeah, there are definitely probably like other ways to help. Which, like, speaking of
creating more food because you have the Infinity Stones.
yeah, you can warp reality to whatever you want. I mean, speaking of, holy shit, that ending was intense.
It was intense, but the thing that really sucked about it, and people were like talking about, oh, I'm shook, and I'm so, like, you know, shook. I'm, you know, whatever.
Yeah, you just saw your favorite characters die on screen.
But to me, it felt like there was no consequence.
What do you mean?
You know, like, it felt like, yeah, they died, but they're gonna be back.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and that may or may not be the truth, but that's what it felt like.
I feel like in the end of the next movie, people may have... Well, I mean, I should say, this is comic book logic. Nobody dies and stays dead. Like, this happens not only in comics, but it happens, like, in the movies that are based on these comics, is that they've ruined death because everyone comes back. Because comic creators, they make a fantastic character. They can't replace them after they kill them off. and then they just bring him back, and it ruins the death. It ruins the sacrifice. And it's like, wow, that's annoying.
It's kind of like if you're watching your favorite like TV show about like, you know, like a police department or something, you know, something like Miami or CSI or something. If one of those people dies, they're dead.
Yeah, their death is permanent.
Yeah, but in these movies, it just feels like they're dead, but it's not consequential because they can just come back.
Yeah, they're going to come back. Which, speaking of, I mean, you think at the end of this movie, man, because at one point, I don't know if you noticed this, I'm assuming you did, when Doctor Strange is talking about how he looked through time, saw all these different possibilities, and in the end, like, there was only one that they won. And he says, like, before he fades away, before he turns to ash, he turns to fucking Tony, and he's like, I'm sorry, Tony. Like, this was the only way. Which makes me think that Doctor Strange, like, he saw into the future and then saw that, obviously, like, all of this was going to go down. Thanos was going to win. But then, obviously, in the next movie, in the future, he will be defeated.
Yeah,
which I really enjoyed. I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, that's a nice little way to allude that, like, he actually, like, Stephen Strange, he did know what was going on the whole time. Like, this wasn't all just botched.
Yeah, and again, that's the thing, is it's like, it just feels unconsequential to me.
Oh, yeah, once again, feels like there's no sacrifice because everybody just disappeared.
Had we walked into a Fast and the Furious movie and a couple people died, you know they're dead. That's it. I don't know.
What's-her-face died, then came back in the next movie.
But we could see how she survived. If someone disappeared into dust, they're dead.
If somebody disappears into dust in fucking Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, they get on fire.
They get cremated.
Yeah.
All right, that totally makes sense. I mean, speaking of the whole dust,
you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Is their deaths are, like, inconsequential. Like, there was only a few deaths that I really felt was one, Gamora, because he fucking throws her off of a mountain and kills her to get the Soul Stone.
But
it was big, like...
But, again, it just doesn't feel consequential to me.
I mean, you don't know if they're going to come back. There's possible some that die, they die.
But it feels like they do, so in the moment, it feels like it means nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
I wish these hit me as hard as everyone else. Everyone else is like, I'm shook, and it's like, are you really? Because
I would say the only one that shook me was Peter, and that was just because he was, like, pleading for his life.
Yeah, the scene was so sad.
He's like, I don't want to go, please, please. And he was like, fucking Tony was holding on to him.
I love how he calls Tony. He goes, Mr. Stark, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark. It's like, dude, I got goosebumps, man.
Yeah, that one hit me hard just because he pleaded for his life. I mean, that, and I love that Tony turned to Peter and he was like, Peter, don't go. And then Peter fades into ash. I was like, oh, shit.
And we're talking about Peter Quill, not Peter Parker,
yeah,
right?
Peter Quill. Sorry. Okay. They both have the same name, so it's kind of annoying. But he just assume that I'm talking about Spider-Man when I say Spider-Man.
What did Peter say when he was like, oh, shit, or something like that? And again...
Yeah, I think he says, oh, shit, and then just...
Yeah, again, that also
fucking goes into ash.
It doesn't help me in my strive to want this to help me feel like it means something, because it just doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. The only one that meant something really was Spider-Man's death.
Yeah, and truly, I don't know if they're coming back. They may or they may not. I would assume they will, because the only ones that really they would have, in my opinion, they would have killed off in this movie lived.
Yeah, I mean, shit. Speaking of deaths and, like, intense scenes, when fucking Thanos rips the Infinity Stone out of fucking Vision's head... That was intense. Like, just seeing his lifeless body hit the ground with a big fucking hole in his head.
Now, like, can we talk about how bad you feel for Vision? Because he died twice in this movie.
Yeah, he dies, gets brought back, and then dies again.
And I think...
Wow, that's gotta be traumatic.
I knew before this happened that, obviously, the Time Stone could do that. But I think that made the deaths feel even less like they meant something. Because it's like, oh, he just brought him back.
Yeah, he could just save them all.
Yeah, and I don't know what the hell is gonna happen. I don't hope they're dead because they killed off a lot of awesome characters.
I feel like
hope they're dead.
With comic book movies, you gotta enjoy the little things. You can't really take heed in the big things that happen because you know that they're gonna be undone more than likely. But you take heed in the small things. Like, one of my favorite scenes in the movie was just where Peter tells Gamora, they both tell each other that they love each other. And I was like, man, I've been waiting 3 fucking movies to hear that. Well, I mean 2 movies really, but it was kind of like a nice payoff that they finally, like, 1, you get to see them kiss, and 2, they finally said I love you to each other. And so that was like one small thing that you get to see that I was like, okay, yeah, I can actually, like, that's something that I can take home and be like, man, I really liked that one scene. Or like fucking Spider-Man dying. Like, that was a great part as well. But I feel like with comic book movies, you have to enjoy the small things, because the big things, like everybody fading to ash at the end, that's going to be undone. You know it's going to be undone. But the small things like that, that's the stuff that's going to last, which I really enjoy. Like, imagine how traumatic these people fading into ash will be. I'm wondering if in the next, like, Infinity War movie, like, whatever, it's untitled, in the next movie, if, let's say they bring everybody back, if Peter's, like, traumatized because of his death, not Peter Quill, Peter Parker, is traumatized because of his death.
That'd be interesting, man. I think that'd be really cool.
And I really also loved the small detail of, like, Hulk being essentially traumatized by getting his fucking ass beat by Thanos. Like, he just got his masculinity crushed into the ground, so the entire rest of the movie he's like, no, I'm not coming out. And I was just like, oh my fucking god, this is so weird.
I thought it was pretty funny. I enjoyed that, and like
I enjoyed it too. I thought it was funny.
Enjoy the little things, but one thing, when we were watching the movie, I leaned over to one of our buddies that went with us, and I was like, dude, the Reality Stone's kind of OP, dude.
Yeah, I can just do whatever.
Yeah, that I mean, they're not going to beat him if he has this stone.
Which totally... Okay, so here's another
the best
part.
chance they had, they failed because Peter Quill punched him out of sleep or whatever.
Yeah, he fucking pistol whipped the shit out of him. That honestly goes toward, like, me thinking Thanos is really, like, I would say a good guy in quotes again, because he, like, when he kills people, he doesn't do it in some horrific way. And if you think about it, he comes and he fights them. He actually just, like, he beats them. He tries to keep them off of him. He doesn't break their arms. He doesn't, like, fucking incapacitate them. He doesn't turn,
like, kill them.
Okay, at one point in time he turned somebody into, like, ribbons, which is really creepy, but he didn't kill them. The only two people he really killed was Vision and Gamora and
Loki.
Oh yeah, sorry. He chokes the shit out of Loki after Loki tries to kill him. The only people he killed were those 3 people. All the rest, while fighting, he could just wipe them out. He could
easily
straight up just fucking kill them if he wanted to, but he didn't. He literally, in the last, like, fight scene, he's just pushing them away, essentially. Like,
he's like, stay off of me.
He punches them. Yeah, he pushes them away. He just makes his way to Vision. And I was like, wow, that's really intense. I don't know. It's, once again, the small details that made it really worth it.
Yeah, and it was really awesome. I really enjoyed the movie, but it just felt super like it didn't matter, you know, which sucks because I wanted it to matter.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we go and see, I'm obviously gonna buy Infinity War because I'm a freak and buy everything, but if I buy Infinity War and then we watch Infinity War and then go see the next Marvel movie immediately after, how it'll feel with those two together, because they're 2 parts of a single piece kind of a thing. So if we see it all in all, if we'll feel different about it, or if it's still going to feel the same. Like, if we're still going to feel that everything happened in the first movie was inconsequential because they're just going to basically fix it in the next.
Yeah.
I will say, there's, like, we were talking about comedy, like, kind of feeling rushed and everything. There's some funny ass shit in this movie. Like, Drax is still one of the funniest fucking people. in the Marvel universe, and it's ridiculous. Like his whole standing still thing.
I think he's funny because he doesn't try to be funny. Well, quote, he doesn't try. Obviously, they're trying, but it seems so natural for him.
Yeah, he's just like an awkward person, and it's so hilarious.
Yeah, he's like, if I stand super still, you won't even notice I'm here.
Yeah, and then they're like, you're literally eating a Zagnut right now. And he's like, yes, but my movements are so slow, you can't see them. And he's like, yes, we can. And then Mantis walks up, and she's like, hi, Drax. And he's like, damn it. And like walks away. That was awesome.
And like his witty comments and stuff, like he is the funniest part of the movie.
I definitely think, bar none, he's the funniest part of the movie, and the little, like, basically everyone meeting everyone else. So the fact that, like, Tony Stark calls them wizards all the time, I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
He's like, I'm trying to protect a wizard. Like, that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, they like, obviously this is the first time a lot of these characters have met. So they're like calling each other weird things. Like they called Thor a pirate angel or something because he had the
eye
patch on,
and he just looks like an angel.
Yeah, so it was really funny, and that kind of humor is really good, but it felt like other movies were funnier.
Yeah,
because there was more time to be funny, you know.
Yeah, there wasn't like 9 or 10 characters that they had to worry about writing funny lines for.
Again, I think that my biggest problem with this movie is it's so rushed, in my opinion. It's so rushed.
Yeah, I mean,
even though we know a lot of these characters, it just feels so rushed.
So you asked me a question several times during the movie about like Valkyrie, where she was, because she didn't, essentially, like, the opening of the movie is Thanos and his people. I think they're called the Black Order or something like that. The Dark Order. I forgot what they call it.
The Dark Order. Yeah, something like that.
Something similar to that. They basically decimate the Asgardian ship, and IGN put out an article about what you need to know about Hawkeye, Ant-Man, and Valkyrie, and like Korg and Meek and everybody, and where they are. And essentially the logic is that in the beginning, it seems like all the Asgardians are wiped out, but near the end, Thor actually says at one point that Thanos only killed half of them. He says that he treated his people like all the others, and he wiped out half of them. So the idea is that essentially half of the Asgardians are alive, and since Valkyrie is supposed to have a larger role in later films, that she's still alive. So that's cool. I enjoy that.
That makes sense. I didn't quite catch that, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he says it like way later when they're forging the hammer, or when they forge his new hammer, which is dope, by the way. The Stormbreaker, that was cool.
Thor is so strong. I don't know why he just doesn't fuck Thanos up.
I think it's kind of interesting. So, I mean, they kind of like backpedaled this, because in Thor Ragnarok, it's a big deal about the source of his power is not Mjolnir, it's himself. Mjolnir was just created to hone his power. And in this, I feel like it was kind of a backstep with Stormbreaker, that he goes there to get like this god-killing
weapon. Yeah.
Yeah, because he lost his hammer, because his hammer was destroyed, and it was like literally a whole section of Thor Ragnarok was talking about how you didn't need it. That you are powerful without it. And he literally like never uses any lightning abilities without his hammer in this.
How cool would it be if he was just running in there with fists of lightning and stuff? That would have been awesome.
I honestly would have rathered in this end fight he not have Stormbreaker, or like, I don't know, maybe didn't use it as much or whatever, and was just basically doing what he did in Thor Ragnarok and punched the shit out of people. That was dope. He went like Fist of Havoc on people, and it was awesome.
That's exactly what it reminded me of. It was so cool too, but
it was exactly
they had
like
to give
Fist
him a
of
weapon.
Havoc. You know that fucking the director and the writers of Thor Ragnarok was like, man, big Destiny fans. They played Titan, and they're just Fist of Havocing people. But yeah, I feel like that was kind of a step back, was them essentially saying like Thor isn't exceptionally powerful without a weapon. I did enjoy that you got to see where the Infinity Gauntlet was created, and I feel like that was a large part of them going there.
Yeah, I think that was literally the only reason they went there, but they were like, oh, we have to give him... Well, he's there to make a weapon, but we figured out where the Infinity Gauntlet was made, so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like it was possibly just they went to this like mystical essentially place. It has such a fucking weird name. I'm not even gonna try to say it. They go to this basically like I'm just gonna call it like an Infinity Forge. Sure, let's call it that. They go to this forge to get a new hammer forged, and it turns out that there's a mold of the Infinity Gauntlet there. And Thanos wiped out all the dwarves with the exception of one, the one who created the gauntlet for him. Which I feel like they...
Why didn't he kill only half of them?
Yeah, that was really odd. I don't know. His whole thing is to just kill half of them. I feel like he has like kind of dual personalities. He not only is like this malicious killer, but he's also like a good guy in quotes. And I did enjoy after he does wipe them all out, he does what he told Gamora he'd do. He wipes half of all life out, and then he just goes and enjoys the sunset. He goes and sits down and enjoys it. I was like, damn, I'm actually glad that he did that. That was interesting. Yeah, because I mean, it was odd because I wanted him to have a payoff. Like, I wanted him to be able to sit in the sun, even though he's a piece of shit and just wiped out half the universe. Like, he was such a, I hate to say likable, but he was a relatable villain. He was so much of a relatable villain that I was like, I kind of wanted him to get to that sunrise, but also I'm like, you're a piece of shit, so I don't want you to get there. I have very conflicted feelings on Thanos, honestly. Yeah, it's kind of upsetting.
Because it's like he himself, he thinks he's doing stuff right, but he's not. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
His intentions are pure, but his motives are not. Or no, his intentions are pure, but the way he accomplishes all of it is not. He fucking kills half the universe instead of, trying to help it. Which, I don't know. I did enjoy that they didn't bring up that he's a Celestial.
I like the fact that they didn't make it to where he killed exactly half of the Avengers. Or, not the Avengers, but, everybody.
Yeah, half the main cast. He wipes out a lot of them.
I'd say a good 60-70%.
I would say I'm really... Okay, so I'm kind of annoyed that neither Cap nor Tony went. That was kind of annoying. Because it was like Tony the two sides of the coin. But...
Did they ever have a conversation in the movie? Or are we just ignoring the fact that they're still
They never have a conversation. He grabs the phone out, and then he ends up getting on the ship and leaves the phone, and I think Bruce Banner calls him. He's on that ship the whole movie and then goes to Titan. They never have a conversation.
At the end, when they were... No, they weren't together. No,
they weren't. He's on Titan.
No, I was thinking Cap, though.
Having a conversation with Tony?
No, okay. This is where I was confused. For some reason, I was replacing Tony with Iron Man because Iron Man and Cap were together.
Oh, you mean...
So I totally just misplaced a couple people, but whatever.
Yeah, because in the promotional material, you saw the Hulkbuster armor, and really it wasn't actually Tony in it. It's Bruce Banner in it.
I knew the whole time it wasn't going to be Tony. I just messed up.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
I see what you're talking about, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like...
I feel like they're just dancing around that, and that kind of sucks, because that was a really interesting topic throughout the movie that they kind of kept alluding to, but they didn't do it at all.
Yeah, they're like estranged, which, I mean, this might be a big payoff in the next movie, that you finally get to see the fallout of them coming back together, because they really did... They were essentially like pieces of shit to each other. Yeah, Tony's family was killed by Cap's best friend, who he then fought Tony off with. Like, that's kind of fucked up.
My last complaint of the movie is when everyone was disappearing, they were all dying, they were all, turning into dust. When Bucky died, he dropped his gun, but I feel like his arm should have dropped too.
I don't know. Yeah. That's...
And then Rocket should have said something like, "Oh, I got the arm," or something. You know, like...
I feel like I definitely would have hated that.
Would that have been insensitive?
That would have been super insensitive. Because also, like, another great death, I thought, was once again Groot dying and Groot, like, fading into ash and fucking Rocket watching him die twice. Like, this is his best friend, his fucking life partner, and he saw him die twice.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Now, I guess, actually, he did not see him die twice. He saw the father die once, and then he not only, like, raised this child, but then also witnessed this child die. So I'm like, man, that's so much more fucked up.
His pseudo-son and his best friend, he watched both of them die.
Yeah, both of them die. Fucking Rocket Raccoon is going to become the new Punisher in these fucking things.
Well, I mean, he kind of is.
Rocket was definitely, like, I feel like Rocket is an unsung hero in these movies. Like, he's a very small part, and I really enjoy him. I think it's kind of weird that, like, I feel like the best comedy that comes out of this entire movie was two different people from the Guardians of the Galaxy. The rest had small quips and everything that were kind of funny, but two funny people were Rocket and Drax.
One, I think that the reason for that is because their movies are innately funnier. Like,
yeah.
Just because of James Gunn in general. But two, because Ant-Man wasn't in this.
Oh, yeah, he would have been really funny. Which, I should bring up that Ant-Man and Hawkeye, their absence from the movies, from this movie, was actually explained, which is really weird. They, like, it's literally in, like, one line where they said after the whole Sokovia thing, the Sokovia Accords, they fought with Cap, and then instead of becoming fugitives, they were caught and put on house arrest so they could be with their families, which I really, really enjoyed. I was like, man, that's actually really nice, especially because Ant-Man obviously has Ant-Man and the Wasp coming up, which I'm excited to see where that is in the chronology, like actually its time.
Is it gonna tell us
if that happened before? I would assume so, that like there's gonna be a small hint. Maybe at the end of it, fucking Wasp is just gonna fade into ash, and we'll be like, "What?"
Oh shit, dude, that would be legit. Oh shit.
I feel like that wouldn't happen though, because if it did happen, you'd be wondering why Ant-Man and Wasp are busy fighting this like criminal syndicate and not the fact that there's like gigantic fucking spaceships on TV. Yeah. Like, I feel like they would willingly go do it.
That makes sense, but it would be super awesome.
Yeah, if they were gonna basically break fucking Scott Lang's parole, his house arrest, I feel like they'd do it for an alien invasion instead of like a criminal syndicate.
But Vaughn, you can't be a neighborhood Spider-Man if there's no neighborhood.
I know that didn't make any sense, but...
No, it made 100% sense. What are you talking about?
No, I just love that he said that. He's like, I know it doesn't make any sense, but yeah.
It made sense, though.
I know. I was like, that actually made sense. I don't know why you're saying it didn't.
Yeah. Overall, man, I enjoyed the movie. The popcorn... Let's talk about the popcorn, man. I don't think the popcorn was very good this time.
You're all about that popcorn. I mean, if you guys don't live in Idaho and you've never been to the Majestic Theater, that's where we went. Decent. It's a cool theater. It's not like the Alamo. We live in Idaho, have the internet and school systems, just to let you know, but we don't have any cool movie theaters. That is the one thing we're truly lacking, is a dope-ass movie theater.
I would be so happy if we got an Alamo or something like that.
Something similar where we could order food at our table.
Kind of like that, right? It's like
you can go up into the the village is a section. It's like this really cool
it's like a strip mall type deal.
Yeah, it's a really big strip mall that's supposed to be like hip and like super high priced kind of. It's supposed to be really fancy. There's a
very hipster
village cinema in it, which is hilarious how like kind of shitty that movie theater is, but like the rest of it is all supposed to be fancy. There's a VIP section where you have to be 21 and older, and you can eat food, and you can actually like have an alcoholic beverage if you want, unless it's a rated R movie. Then that is actually illegal.
Wait, what?
I think it's illegal in certain situations if it shows enough nudity, I think is what it was.
That you cannot drink alcohol?
Because Yeah, that you can't drink alcohol during it because it was this big like issue with when the 50 Shades movies were coming out. They wouldn't allow you to drink alcohol because it was illegal.
Well, that's interesting.
I'm not 100% certain. It was some weird shit that was going on. I remember.
It sounds
yeah, we don't have
cool.
any like super cool movie theater. That's definitely the fucking the moral of this story is that we don't have a really dope movie theater.
Yeah.
We have normal movie theaters that are just
with
chairs,
popcorn and
no cool tables
and they try to get all
anything.
They try to get all fancy with like chicken sandwiches and shit, and it's like, what are you doing, dude?
I had their nachos once. Not bad. Nachos, unsung Mexican food. I feel like everyone likes the burritos, the breakfast burritos and such. Nachos, pretty legit.
I want some wings or something.
Yeah. I mean,
Pizza.
you can get a hot dog. You can get a hot dog. That's cool.
Not the same. Not even close.
How's that not the same? It's a meat. It's a meat that you can hold in one hand. That sounds like the same.
I got a meat that I can hold in one hand. Is that
That's
a
not
wing?
something that you should. That's not something you should brag about.
No. I can hold it in one hand. I don't have.
No, you shouldn't brag about that.
No.
I mean, if you can, you shouldn't be bragging about it. If you physically can't hold it in two hands, that's when you brag about it. You're like, it's literally impossible. I will hurt myself if I do not use two hands.
Okay. But it's not, so I'm not gonna lie.
I would like to give a brief shout out to, and this has nothing to do with the topic of today's podcast, which is penis size. I have to give a brief shout out to Arbor Day. Arbor Day was yesterday. Not many of you guys know, but I'm a huge fan of trees. It's a kind of a weird thing. People don't understand it, but I fucking love trees. Favorite tree? Quaking aspen. Super dope. It's awesome. I hope to one day own a nursery. That's like my true dream, is to own a plot of land where I can plant trees. And Arbor Day is either coming up or it already did. It seems like Arbor Day is like a different day for different states, because I like looked it up, when is Arbor Day, and it's like, oh, it's Friday the 27th in Nebraska. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is it Arbor Day like on the 27th in Nebraska but not Arbor Day anywhere else? And I literally looked up like, when is Arbor Day, and then it's like 2018 in California, in Texas, in Florida, in Washington State. I'm like, how can it be like, in a sense, a national holiday, but it's different days based on the state? That's fucking weird. That's just uncomfortable. And the reason that this all popped up was actually a friend asked me to cover Arbor Day in our podcast, and I felt cool about that. So I was like, you know what? You asked me, I'll fucking talk about Arbor Day. I'll talk about my weird obsession with trees.
You know, when you say Arbor Day, the only thing I can really think of is Raising Hope. You ever watch that show?
Yeah, I love Raising Hope. Good show.
And they I can't totally remember, but they like didn't tell their kid about Christmas, but told him about Arbor Day.
So Arbor Day's his shit.
Yeah,
Jimmy
so it's
really
like,
likes fucking Arbor Day.
Yeah, so it's like when he woke up, there was like a little tree with some like presents on it or some candy or whatever. And so he was really into Arbor Day, but everyone else was really into Christmas, and he really had no idea what was going on.
Dude, Arbor Day's fucking legit. Unsung holiday is so awesome. Like, just think about it. If everyone actually celebrated Arbor Day, how many more trees would be on this planet? It would be fantastic. I would fucking...
You know, I was driving to work the other day, and I was looking at the trees, and we got a lot of trees here. I'm pretty happy about that.
I don't feel like we have enough trees.
Yeah, we don't have enough, but, like...
There's a whole lot of shrubbery. Fuck shrubbery. Who the fuck is planting bushes? Plant a fucking tree. Trees are dope. Shrubs suck ass. Are you gonna look at a bush? Oh, cool. It's an herbal fence. Dumb. Plant a tree, you dumb bitch.
Fuck shrubbery. You heard it here first, everybody.
Yeah, fuck shrubbery. Trees are legit. They're amazing. And shrubbery can eat my fucking ass. Drop the mic. Opinion over. It's done.
Well, is that everything you had to talk about Infinity War today? Because I feel like we got real off topic there.
I feel like Arbor Day is very in topic for Infinity War, because it turns out Infinity War was based on Arbor,
Arbor
Day.
Day.
Yeah. And the whole, little did you know, the whole war is actually about Arbor Day.
They talk about these infinity stones, but really it turns out that they're seeds for trees.
Yeah, he's gonna, when he goes and sits and watches the sunset, he actually like has little pots, and then he pulls the stones out and he puts them in there, grows a tree, and that's how the Ents are born. And this is how Marvel is gonna intersect with the Lord of the Rings universe. And turns out Frodo is Ant-Man's descendant, and he can change his height. So, yep, that just happened.
Yeah, you'll see that in the next Lord of the Rings movie, or Hobbit, or whatever the hell you were just talking about.
Yeah, in like 10 years, you're gonna see that, the nice little crossover when Disney buys fucking everything.
Why not, dude? They make good content.
Why not buy everything? Just fucking do it. Just get it over with. Who gives a shit anymore?
Not me.
Yep, that's all I have to talk about. Yeah, you once again milked me. I'm gonna keep. I'm just gonna. That's a staple now. I'm gonna keep saying you milked me every time.
Like Kevin the Milkman Coelho.
Yep, the Great Wall of Kevin. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for listening to us rant about Marvel. Hopefully you guys went and saw it, because it really wasn't a fun movie. I enjoyed it. It had some plot holes, but other than that,
you just
it was really
said it
fun.
wasn't a fun movie, by the way. You're like,
No,
it really wasn't a fun movie.
I said it was a fun movie.
You definitely said wasn't.
Roll back the tape. Okay. Anything else you want to say?
Thank you so much for watching. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
You totally said was it. You fucking said it.